Hello and welcome to Experiencing Love. I'm your host, Philip Jocks, and I'm so glad that you're here. So, if you're here live, welcome. This is definitely something way outside my comfort zone. I tried this once a couple weeks back, and I didn't love it because the quality of doing this show live was lower than I wanted it to be. The video was all choppy, and I put the idea on the back burner, and I didn't want to push this. At least not yet. For those of you that aren't watching this live and are maybe listening to the podcast or you're reading this as a blog, welcome to you as well. I'm so glad that you've stuck with me on my previous platforms. And if you enjoy a more live and raw experience, one where I don't edit out the mistakes and make it flow more smoothly, come join me on YouTube and check out what it's like. I'm learning and definitely getting flustered, and that's fine because this is just one way that I'm seeking discomfort. Yesterday, I spoke a little bit about how in order for me to grow, in order for me to start inching towards the next level of my life, I need to embrace seeking discomfort more. I need to become more uncomfortable because for the past few weeks I've been too comfortable. Growth doesn't happen in our comfort zone. It happens by expanding our comfort zone. So I knew I had to do this. I knew I had to figure this out. And as far as I'm aware, it's already going much better than the last time I tried this. The last time I streamed, I was having issues with the video. I'm now seeing that there's no issues with the video, and I think the issues had to do with trying to do too much all at once. I believe I was trying to stream on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, while also recording my audio separately. Right now I'm doing only YouTube, and that feels right for me right now, and maybe one day I'll be able to do more streaming on Twitch. For now, while I have still my older laptop that could only handle so much, I'm going to stick with YouTube and see what that does for me. So here I am, here we are. I don't have much planned on what to say because usually I record these at the end of my night. And my mind just blanked hard there. That's all right. I usually record these at the end of my night, and I do that after experiencing a full day of life, of what I have, and I speak on that. I speak on what I've been thinking about throughout the day. Now, admittedly, because I was a little bit more nervous to do this, I didn't start the stream at night. I instead did it as soon as I woke up in the morning because I believe that there'd be less people to watch this live. And so I haven't experienced much of the day, and I'm truly just speaking from my heart. I'm just speaking to speak right now. But I know that when I speak from that place, eventually I reach this mode I call heart mode. And what feels most important for me to say just ends up coming out. So I may as well just speak a little bit more on seeking discomfort, really, because that's why I'm here and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And just the term seek discomfort plays such a crazy role in my mind and in my story. And so it feels full circle to come back to this idea. There's so many ways to say seek discomfort. You could say embrace the uncomfortable, be more uncomfortable, step out of your comfort zone. But the word seek discomfort reminds me of the brand that the YouTube channel Yes Theory created many years ago. I haven't really been a consumer of their content for a long time now. Every once in a while I'll watch a video. But there's a time in my life where I would watch every single video that I could get my hands on. This was just around 2019, 2020. And I would watch a lot of their videos. And it inspired me to seek discomfort in my own life. Well, it was around the time when I was looking at colleges to apply to. At that time, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, being a 17, 18-year-old, still just trying to figure things out. And I ended up watching one of their videos. And at the end, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been Thomas, said something along the lines of, what were your dreams as a kid? When you were just a young boy or girl, what did you want to do? And have you made progress on those goals? Have you taken steps towards your dreams? Now, of course, I'm paraphrasing a bunch, but that was the gist. And being there, 17, 18 years old, I thought about what were my dreams as a young kid. I remember when I was about 5 or 6 years old, the thing I wanted most was to be an astronaut. I remember I wanted to be an astronaut, and it was a part of my childhood so strongly, up until the point that I watched some video about space, and they described these below ground moon shoots / volcanoes kind of thing, where pretty much if you fell into one of these, and they described this in the video, I believe, if you fell into one of those, they described how your body would just be crushed and disintegrated and melted or something like that. And for a 6-year-old, it terrified me, and I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I would like not to be an astronaut anymore. And I forgot about that dream. I let it go. And so fast forward to choosing colleges to apply to, I was looking at the major of computer science. I was like, I like computers, and I've been raised in a way to focus on money, or should I say focus on security. And I knew that security comes from making enough money to have all your needs met, and then some. And I knew computer science or computer engineers, they made good money, I did the research, and I wasn't passionate about it, but I was willing to make concessions. So when I watched that video, what were my dreams as a kid, and where are those dreams now? Am I making progress on them now? I realized that I haven't made much progress, but I could look into it now. And I looked into aerospace engineering, and truly it checked off my boxes, right? They make money, and it was vaguely something I wanted to do, right? At the time, when I saw that video, I was like, whoa, maybe my dreams are coming back for a reason. Like, I'm going to go be an astronaut. And that resulted in me scrapping nearly my entire list of schools that I was going to apply to. And admittedly, this was like a week or two before applications were due. I scrapped my entire list and only applied to 2 schools: Rutgers in New Jersey and Georgia Institute of Technology, Georgia Tech. I only applied to those 2, and I remember telling people about it and them saying, Philip, that's so risky. Only applying to 2 schools. What happens if you don't get into either of them? Now, admittedly, in the back of my mind, I was fairly certain I was going to get into at least one of them, at least Rutgers, being in state, and just with the portfolio that I had, the transcript that I had. But I still took that risk. And crazy enough, I got into both schools. And Georgia Tech was especially a surprise because Georgia Tech at the time was ranked 2 or 3, maybe 4 in the nation for undergraduate aerospace engineering. Like, just above it may have been MIT and maybe Caltech, or someplace in California. I don't quite remember now. And I went to Georgia Tech because we'll call it another God wink. We'll call it another coincidence that wasn't a coincidence. It just so happened to be the same price as going to Rutgers. And I knew I wanted that experience of going out of state and doing something different. And so that just started that part of my journey. Simply seeing a video from the creators of the Seek Discomfort brand to follow my dreams led me to where I am now. Because going to school in Georgia had so many more steps that influenced my life, where I went, had a really tough time, really got in touch with my faith. I was a very involved member of the campus Catholic Center. From there, I made a bunch of incredible friends playing volleyball, playing ultimate frisbee, just being active, having fun. And then I studied abroad in Ireland. And studying abroad in Ireland was such an incredible experience. And I learned such a pivotal lesson for myself, which was, at that point, I was then doing my major classes. And I realized I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And I could no longer use the excuse that it'll get better in the future, because I knew what I was doing then was my future. And I didn't regret the 2 years that I was there, but I would regret the next 2 years if I didn't do something about it at that moment, and I continued to hate it in the future. I knew so well that I could have easily finished, easily coasted by and graduated, gotten a job. I even had a friend who had a connection at one of the NASA research facilities. And he told me he would connect me with his uncle, right? With the uncle that worked there, my friend, I mean. So I was also fairly certain that I had a chance of even getting an internship at NASA. All of these things lined up in a way to say that I knew I could have kept going. I knew there was a path for me there, and that was the path of safety and security. But what really mattered to me was not so much safety and security. I realized that was more the needs and the will of my parents. Instead, it was to learn, grow, to seek discomfort, to find out who I was as a person. And to do that, I had to step away from everything I've ever known. I left school on a leave of absence for a year and just ended up never returning. Years went by and I started to learn about personal growth. I, for that entire time, was listening to podcasts and audiobooks and watching videos, and sooner or later started going to seminars, got certified as a life coach myself, and then discovered the power of masterminds. And I say all of this because now that also leads me right here, right now, to this stream. I say all of this because back then, 5 years ago now, I watched that video. I was introduced to the channel of Yes Theory. Saying yes to the things that make you uncomfortable, to seeking discomfort in your life to grow. I see that single video as one of the biggest turning points in my life. Not because the outcome was that life-changing, but because it put me on a path that I otherwise might not have had all of the lessons that I've had so far. Honestly, I definitely would have had other lessons, but the point is, those other lessons weren't meant for me. I like to see it as the lessons that I've experienced are the ones that I'm meant to experience, Everything happens for a reason. It's number one on my tenets, my beliefs, my core principles. I recently looked up the definition of tenet, and it pretty much is a belief or principle, or one of the core beliefs or principles in a philosophy. And so I asked myself, what is this philosophy? And to have some fun alliteration, I pretty much just said the philosophy of Philip. Because I know this is more internal than for anybody else. Like, I don't expect people to embrace the philosophy of Philip. But it is something that does govern and guide most of my decisions in my life. So, anyways, that's my connection to seeking discomfort. Being here is part of seeking discomfort, and I want to keep doing this every day. I want to keep showing up. I want to keep recording. I want to keep streaming. And I know this is just that next step. Just like the podcast was one step, creating the blog was the next, creating this stream is the next. There's going to be more steps. At this point, I'm just creating my database, creating my content, and I know I'm going to repurpose this all later for something. So, all that matters is truly showing up, being persistent, being resourceful with the challenges that I have, finding a way to make it work, and doing so in a way that makes me seek discomfort, that pushes me to new heights. So, like with yesterday, if there's any value that I can give to you, it's just one more reminder that I want you to seek a little bit of discomfort in your life. Some area where you're comfortable in may be the area that you need the most growth, the most push. And so, if I could offer that to you, I would say, you know what makes you uncomfortable, and you know what would be a challenge for you. And so, what would be the harm in doing it? Once you have that answer, what would be the joy past the fear? What would be the love past the fear? What love can you experience in your heart? That's for you to answer, and for hopefully the world to find out. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a joyful rest of your day. Remember to always fill up with the love, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I love you.